Hey, it's Juliana Hudgens, and I'm so excited. I have my own beading loom. I have always wanted it, and Beadalon, I'm so excited they have made it for me. It's called the Jewel Loom, and I have been having so much fun making bracelets and necklaces and earrings and chokers and my goodness, anything you can think of. And what's really cool is that I am incorporating my favorite artistic wire with my loom projects. Now, it does come in a kit. And you have the loom, the jewel loom, and you have the metal rod, which is really cool because it's going to help create that tension that you need when you're doing your warp threads. It comes with a needle and a threader and then a really cool little pouch, so you can put everything into that so you don't have to worry about losing any of your pieces. You can also buy it separately, so if you just want the loom and the rod, it is available that way as well. Now I'm going to be showing you how to get started, how you do the warp threads, and then how you build a base. And then I'm sure that there'll be more fun along the way where I'll show you how to make dimension and use that wire I was talking about and who knows what else. So stick around and have fun. So to get started, what you want to do is you want to insert the metal rod into the jewel loom. Now what's really cool about the loom that I designed is that it's got this really nice curved area right here, and it's perfect for holding in your hand. So what I'll do is I'll take that metal rod and then I just slightly bend up and insert the other end into the hole right here. And what that does is it creates the bow in the loom so that when we build our warp threads, we have a really nice tension. So what I'm going to do now is start to build the base of my warp threads for my project. And in this case, I'm working on an affinity band. So what I've done is I've actually tied my thread. I am working from the spool. I've tied it up here to the left hand side, closest to what I call the button. And then these little guys would be referred to as the grooves. Now I'm going to take the thread and I'm going to place it into the number 1 groove. Then I'm going to turn this over, and I just wanted to point out that I did design the loom so that it has this little back button. This way you won't waste a lot of thread, which is really important. Then I'm going to bring this up and lay it into the number 3 groove. And now it just kind of becomes this dance where I'm going to be skipping every other groove until I have gone around 7 times, because I'm working with size 8 seed beads. Now what I'm going to do is just wrap that around the little button here, pull, bring in my scissors, and then we're just going to nip that, and we will put that back in there and then tie it off with a knot, and then we'll be ready to actually create the base of our bracelet. Now to create the actual tension, we need to go ahead and carefully remove the rod. So I will hold the loom, and then we're just going to pop that rod out on both ends, put that to the side, and now we can start to build our base. So I've already pre-threaded my needle with some Nymo, and I've cut about a 2-yard piece. And you'll find that as you work with your loom and the different projects that you're making, you'll know best how much to cut. But for this particular project, I do have about 2 yards. Now I need to anchor this thread to my warp threads. So what I'm going to do is I'm coming under the first one, over, under, under again, and then I'm pulling this out. So we're going to pull it all the way to the right, and we're going to leave a tail of about 3 inches long or so, 2 to 3 inches long. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going down, and we're just going to repeat that. And what's really important with this step is that, and I'm going to show you right here, so you see how this warp thread is captured right there. So you want to make sure that when you're securing this piece of thread to the warp threads, that you've got this anchored so that this very last warp thread is actually secure. Now, what we do is we're going to come under all the warp threads. We're going to pick up 6 size 8 seed beads. And let's see, what do we have there? Yep, that's 6. And this is going to determine the width of your affinity band. You can certainly do one that is wider. And next, what you're going to do is we're just going to pop up each one of those little beads in between the warp threads with our forefinger there, our pointer, and then we're going to take the needle, come back through all of them, and pull them through. I love how they just dance. And then this is where we want to get a little bit tight, and then we come back under. And it's so peaceful. Sometimes when I just need to chill out, this is exactly what I want to do, because it's so much fun, and it really is one of the most simplest projects on the loom that you can create. So again, this is our second row, and we're just going to pop those up there in between each warp thread, put the needle through, and once we get this second row, you can see how it starts to get a little snug, which is exactly what we want. And we're just going to continue to build this. So we've got our last row, which now has given me about a 5.5 inch long band. And what I want to do next is I just want to give it a little extra security. So I'm going to weave back through a few rows, and by all means, if you feel like you want to give it a lot of security, you could actually weave through the entire bracelet as long as you had enough thread. And we'll just go back through a couple of these guys. Guys are also known as rows. You're also going to come up with a lot of cute sayings when you're looming, because you have time to kind of think and concentrate, which is fun. So I think that'll about do it. So what we're going to do next is we are going to cut the finished affinity band off of the loom. Which, by the way, I just want to point out that the reason why I had Beadalon make my loom for me is, well, I trust them, which is really important, because I knew that they would create a loom that was durable, and that really had the perfect flex. And well, I'll show you. So for instance, what we're going to do is we're going to cut, and you can see how the loom just, you know, re-suspended back into its flat form, still very durable and ready to use for the second time. So I'm so thrilled. And again, I wouldn't have had anybody else make my jewel loom. So there is our affinity band, which I think I just like saying that word a lot. So we're going to come up here to the top, and you can see all of these strands, and what we need to do is we just need to make sure that those are all cut up there, and then we're going to divide these strands. So I've got 2 over here that I'm going to tie into a knot. I have 3 in the middle that I'm going to tie together. I'm just going to make sure those are nice and laid out well. And then I have 3 little guys over here, and that is because what we can do is we can actually come in here, and this was our thread that we were using earlier, so we'll just nip that to the side. So we have 2, 3, and 2. So I have all of my ends tied together here, and now what I want to do is take some of the Beadalon Hypo Cement glue and put a little tat of that onto the knots. I'm going to let those dry, and then I'm going to come back, trim the excess thread, and then I'm going to repeat that step on the opposite end. So I'm ready to add my clasp, which is a 3-prong clasp, and this is from Beadalon. And what I'm going to do is I have my needle and thread, and so I'm going to anchor that by starting in the 3rd row down from the top. And I just want to make sure that I leave a nice long tail. And then we're going to come through that 2nd row. And you just want to be careful that you don't pull that thread all the way out. And then what we're going to do is we come up the 1st row and out in between that 1st and 2nd bead. So I just picked up 3 size 8 seed beads, and then what I'm going to do is go through that 1st hole, thread that down, and then I'm going to come back through those beads. So again, basically what we're doing is we are sewing that clasp onto our affinity band. Now, I want to make sure that it's nice and tight and secure, so I'm going to go through it one more time. So we'll just give it a little snug, and we'll come back up through those beads, back through that hole, and then back and down again. And then we're going to do that step 2 more times for the middle and the end, and then we'll add the bottom clasp, and then we'll be ready to wear our affinity band. So let me just show you really quick what we're going to do here now is we're going to come up through that 3rd and 4th bead. So you see how this is going. So it's pretty easy. You know, we're just, again, sewing that on. So I'm going to dance around to the bottom here just so that I can get a better grip with everything. Go back through those beads. And we're going to just continue to do this until that clasp is nice and secure. And again, you just always want to make sure that you give it a nice little tug. And you can see what I tend to do is I'm holding the clasp and the thread just to make sure that everything is kissing up there really nice and tight. And we have that nice and secure. And then what I like to do is I like to go back through some of those rows. I think it's better to be safe than sorry when it comes to making sure that your project is nice and secure. And then, like I said, we're going to do the same exact thing to the bottom. And then we'll just trim off the excess threads here. I don't know, I kind of like to go through several rows. So let's do that. Let's do one more. And I'm going to bring my scissors in. We're going to trim and trim. And then as you can see, there is the finished clasp. The affinity band is a project that you can make really quick. It's very easy to create, probably 60 to 90 minutes from start to finish. And from there, you can create other items like bracelets and necklaces and earrings and hair pieces. And what's really fun is once you get the knack of it, you can add your favorite artistic wire. You can use unique beads like these mosaic tiles that have 2 holes in them. And really, the possibilities are endless. I can't wait to see what you have created with my new Jewel Loom.